Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of This Is Not a Car Wash. Today I have a very special guest, Brody from Australia. And of course, if you guys watch the videos, I went all the way over to Australia to the Stash business there, and they have a ridiculous business, lots and lots of cars. We're going to talk about that. We did a podcast with all the boys, but now I have Brody on. Why? Because Brody came to the United States for the first time a couple of days ago. So he's already back in Australia. So I wanted to ask him how the experience was. And of course, what's the difference between detailing in the United States versus Australia, and kind of get that perspective. So with that being said, let's pull in my buddy, Brody. Let's see. There he is. Hello, sir. How are you?
Hey Larry, good. How are you?
Very
Long time
good.
no see.
Yeah, right. It's been how long? You've been gone for like a week or something now, right? 6 days, 5 days?
Yeah, I've been back. 5 days. So, yeah, it's been good adjusting to Australian cold temperatures. It was hot over there. So just fitting right back in.
Nice,
Getting,
nice. So
getting back on top of sleep
I
as
didn't
well.
ask you, how was your trip? How does the trip back? 22 hours, everything fine? You didn't sleep, or you did sleep? What?
Probably got an hour's worth of sleep,
Ugh,
so not a lot. But the first night sleeping at home was good. I got a full night's worth of sleep.
that's
So
awesome.
it's good to be back in my own bed as well.
So when you say cold, is there any way you can translate? Because the people watching this, they don't know. I don't. I certainly don't know Celsius. So take your phone out. What's the translation here in cold? So right now for you guys watching, I don't know if you can even hear it in the background. I have the air conditioning going, and I'm sweating right now. It's about 86 degrees, and it's crazy humid. I got baseball practice in a couple of hours, and if you see, actually, can you see my face right now? Do you see that it looks red? Can you see that or no?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
just
yeah.
took that. Remember the 360 that we worked on?
Yep.
So I just finished that. So there's a video coming out with Brodie and I. Brody started the 360 with me. We did the wash. He did the undercarriage, so on and so forth. But then he had to go, so we took him to the airport, and then I just finished it. The reason my face is all burned is I did the driving shots today without the roof on it.
Yep.
Jordan side by side or whatever. Getting stuck in. First of all, the 355 is the most amazing Ferrari, in my opinion, with that exhaust, the whole thing. But I didn't have a roof on, and I am as white gets. And I can't even see it on the camera right now. My face is
Yeah.
completely bright red. So, anyways, that's why I look like I've been sitting at the beach or whatever. But, anyways, what's the temperature there?
Well, it's funny you say that. So right now it's 48 Fahrenheit, so about 9 degrees Celsius. So
Wow.
it's cool. It's not the coolest of mornings. We get down to 0 degrees, which would be significantly lower. We don't get snow, but it's definitely cool.
Oh, that's crazy. Yeah, I can
Um,
see with your sweatshirt on.
Funny you say that with the burn. I got back and then I started on the flight home. So once I left you, I started peeling, and it was like crazy. So I got really, really badly burned in California.
Yeah.
Same again with the top down on the car that I hired. But I was going to enjoy my time and drive around with the top down and have no regrets. But I was definitely feeling it when I got back.
I can imagine. So, for those of you listening who we haven't announced it quite yet, so you guys will be the first one that we are. Maybe we announced it. I can't think of it. Have we announced it? The new WCCS. We're opening up a new ammo branch, a retail location, so you can walk into Matt Farrer's Westside Collectors Car Garage. Same idea as Stash, and pick up products just like you can go to Stash and pick up products. Now the cool part that Brody's talking about is he went to California after the ATA training, which we'll talk about in Denver, and just drove around, top down, got sunburned. That's what he's talking about. But the behind the scenes is I secretly sent Brody there to double check on Matt Farrer to make sure that all the displays looked per ammo and all that kind of stuff. So after that, you enjoyed your time. What'd you do? Hollywood, and then did you drive anywhere?
Yeah, I went to the Angeles National Forest, so the canyons. An amazing look out there, actually on Matt's advice. So, yeah, got to do some really cool driving. But yeah, you guys were going through a heat wave over there, which was not quite as warm as our heat waves, but definitely the sun was quite hot and aggressive over there.
Yeah. Yeah. We love our
So,
summers because our
and
winters are awful.
yeah, it was funny coming back to Sydney with a tan in the middle of winter. Um,
That's funny.
but yeah, yeah.
I dig it. All right. So before we get into the ATA 300 and the training, the Denver stuff that we did, my first question to you, and I'm sure everybody else listening, because when I went to Australia, my impression was everybody was super nice. It just seemed way more relaxed. But I didn't get a full super feel because I was there obviously filming, doing stuff with you guys. I think you got a little bit more of, because I only went to Sydney. You went to Los Angeles, Denver, New York City, and Connecticut. So you got a little bit more of a taste of what it is to be in the United States. And for the record, it was your first time coming to the United States, correct?
Correct, yeah.
First time leaving Australia.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is the question I'm about to ask you, I think, is even more important because you're not biased by anything else by going to China or, Germany or whatever. So what would you say is the biggest difference from a personal level from Australia to US? And then I'm going to ask the same question from a detailing level, if there is one at all.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the vast variety of landscape there, that was crazy going from the East Coast to West Coast. The landscape was completely different. It was really beautiful there. The people are very different to Australians as well. Like you said, we're kind of laid back, very, very chill, and I guess the culture, even the car culture was really different over there. California was crazy. Like the emissions there, the emissions controls, but then the modifications of the vehicles, which was very different to what we have here. So I'd say Australia and America, very different places, and we've both got our beautiful landscapes and differences when you travel from Sydney to Melbourne or LA to New York. So
yeah, when we got out in New York City, and obviously we left JFK, and everybody knows the Van Wyck. On the way to pick Brody up, and then on the way back, I saw, because I did both trips, obviously, he only did half the trip, I saw 3 accidents. With Brody, we saw one right next to us, but the one in the morning, somebody from 684, from 84 to 684, which is a big main route going down to New York City. This guy was on his phone. I saw him, and he didn't brake at all and just wailed into the back of this white Acura. I told you that when we got down there. I said, oh, my God, it's so crazy. And then I saw like 2. That's one I saw personally, and then one that was like, when you just see the accident where they're just getting out of their car. I just missed it. It was like 3-4 cars down. That was on the way to pick you up. And then, of course, when you're in the car and we were driving back on the Van Wyck, this lady, I even called it out to you. I was like, Brody, watch this. Watch. Bang. She went right into the back of a Tommy gate, which is like in the U.S., it's the lifts that come down from a truck or whatever, and just crushed the front of her car and put her hand over her head and just kept driving. My point is, I felt like when I was looking over at you, you're like, oh my God, New York City is just like in like a zoo with 4 wheels. And you're like, everyone's so angry and aggressive, and I'm sure I'm driving like a lunatic as well. So from my perspective, I thought after taking a few minutes and thinking about what it must be like for you, certainly it's not a great example to drive in Manhattan with someone from Australia, because it shows the gap between Australia's being, folks being laid back, and New York City guys, including myself, being psychos behind the wheel. So I'm sure you were having a blast the first second you landed. Yeah, I mean,
we get that here. In saying that, when I was in LA, about to return my hire car, I'm sitting at the servo, a slang word.
What's a servo?
Yeah, the servo, so that's the petrol station, or the gas station.
Gas station, yes.
Yeah. Actually went to fill up, and I couldn't figure it out. I couldn't get the pump to start. So I asked the guy behind me, what's happening? Am I doing something wrong? And he said, oh, man, you got to pay for it first.
And so you guys don't pay first?
No, we don't. We fill it up, we go in, we pay at the counter, and walk away. That was a really weird experience for me. And then in the same time, I was parked there, ready to leave, and then this woman in front of me started to back up, put the reverse lights on. I'm beeping my horn, and then next minute crunch, and she backs into me. I think she was on holidays or a tourist as well, and I said, oh, this is my hire car. I'm literally around the corner. I was pretty angry, but I was able to pop it all back in, and it was all fine. But that was kind of my experience in LA, paying for petrol first, and then having to look out for anyone else that's on the road.
All right, so we got petrol, gas station. Oh, no, petrol, gas. Servo, gas station. Yep. Hired car, we call it just a car rental. We call it a rental. Hired, because a hired car would be like, if you hired someone to drive like a taxi.
Yep.
I think that's more of like a hired car. What other words do we have that are not? They're saying the same thing, but you guys have completely wacky words.
It's funny you say that. I pulled up a list of some of these words, and
there's a
just
great
looking through
YouTube video that we watched while we were there. I forget what it was, but the cameraman DJ showed it to us. It was hysterical.
Yeah. We've got bangers, which are sausages.
Bangers?
We've got, what do you call your Christmas over there? Just a Christmas?
Yeah, Christmas.
We call it Chrissy.
Chrissy?
Oh
my gosh.
Do you guys ever chuck a sickie?
Chuck a sickie? That sounds like some sort of disease.
Yeah, so that would be calling in sick for a day off work when you're not actually sick.
Oh.
We've got a so gas, which is petrol. Heaps.
Heaps is a lot.
Yeah. What else have we got? We've got Reno.
What's Reno?
Which would be renovation.
Oh, Reno. Yeah, it's like everything you have is shortened. And you guys call me...
Knackers.
What do you call it? Knackers?
Knackers.
Oh, Macca's. Oh, McDonald's.
That's it, yeah.
Yeah, we definitely don't call it Macca's. Yeah, and you guys... my name over there is Lazdog. But the thing is, in the U.S., people would be like, oh, Lazdog. You're like, oh, cool, you're calling... But, like, that's what you guys would really call. It would be more of, like, a joke here in the United States to call me Lazdog. But, like, at least Scott calls me Lazdog all the time, but he doesn't do it with, like, hey, what's up there, Lazdog? Like, being jokey about it. He just says that's your name.
Genuine nickname.
Exactly. So, yeah, a lot of differences. But anything from the detailing perspective that people might be interested in, aside from your outlets that are weird. You guys got wacky outlets over there.
Yeah, I mean, the differences for us here, I guess the temperatures are the same. We get cold and we get really hot, but I guess here in Sydney we don't get the snow in the winter, so we don't have salted roads like you do over there. So we're not having to deal with or manage that as often. I guess if you're closer to the water as well, that might be when you have to deal with that. And we've the detailing perspective, it's not so different. Maybe our water usage.
What about your customers? Are your customers different with respect to like what they want or anything? Or like, I mean, you have some super high-end customers in Stash, of course, but do they want like $4,000 or $5,000 details? Do they want clear bra? Is it the same demand over there?
Yeah, clear bra is definitely a big thing over here, especially with the client base that I have here at Stash. I wouldn't say we have a lot of people wanting to spend a lot of money on car detailing. It's kind of, you've got to have that right customer, the right clients. Most people are looking for a deal or are looking for a cheaper detail. And then you've got those specific clients that will pay for a detail. But we don't, I guess we don't have the wealth that America has. And we don't have so many people that have an abundance of money that they're happy to just spend money on cars. I think we're a little bit conservative over here on what we're spending the money on. But we're definitely seeing a trend where we're pushing more towards the clear bra over a ceramic coating or just a detail. I guess the car values are jumping up as well. So if you can justify spending $10,000 fully clear wrapping your car, then you're going to do that. I wouldn't say the detailing side of things is too different. Maybe what people are willing to spend is different. That's about it.
Got it. I felt like over there wasn't, I mean, there's definitely a different car culture. There's a lot more people with utes, which we don't have here. I guess the equivalent here would be like a Ford F-150, but the Ford F-150 is more of just like a workhorse. Over there, maybe it is a workhorse. I wasn't there long enough to talk to some people who had that, but it seemed like more of a lifestyle, I guess, with the snorkels and the whole thing. So I thought the car passion or culture was slightly different because, first of all, your cars are different. And I think the second thing is, like you said, when we come out and play, we come out and play because 9 times out of 10, 5 to 6 months out of the year are not really spectacular here. So, when we come out in the summertime, we come out hard. But it seemed like you guys, like, you still have cars driving around, even though it's 48 degrees or 50 degrees or whatever it is. It's relatively cold. You still have some nice cars driving around, right? It's not like they're tucked away, right?
We do. We get to play kind of all year round. Like, it's never too cold or never too hot to get your cars out. But then, you've got your off-roaders, which get used in the snow and get used in the summer as well. So, there's always time for using cars over here. It's never too hot, never too cold. It's kind of all year round. You can use a car, hit up the track, enjoy the nice windy roads. In saying that, that's where the clear film or the clear bra is becoming more important on those SUVs or the utes as well, because they're taking them off-roading where they're potentially going to get scratched up. So these guys and they're putting a lot of money into setting up these vehicles for the off-road. So they're also going to protect them and make sure that they're not going to get scratched or damaged, where they're going to need a paint job if they cause too much damage to the cars.
Agreed. So let's transition here. You came over initially to Denver. At Denver, we did the Ammo Training Academy in person, which we set up for like a year. We had 30 or 31 people show up. You, myself, and Kevin stayed in Airbnb. And we were there for 4 days, setting up probably one day beforehand. And I think it went well. I think there's a lot of things that can be improved. I think a lot of things I think were probably as good as I could possibly explain them and get them across. But from your perspective, what did you think about the training course, the good, bad, the ugly, what could be changed, what was great, that kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, I think overall, for anyone that didn't quite have as much experience, it was unreal. Like, for the business side of things, I think that's the most overlooked and the most important side of it. If you can detail well, that's only half the job. You've got to be profitable in what you're doing. And I think getting that across to detailers is super important, and you did that really well. I think a lot of people put that aside or focus on how can I be a better detailer, but you've got to be a better business person. And for me, I did ATA 300 before coming over. So a lot of that was kind of covered in that course, but it was good to be there in person and experience and I guess have questions asked about things that I may not have had questions for. I think the course was really well done. I also think that there would have been so many people in that course that will go away and almost change their business model, or now rethink how they're doing things and try to adjust that, whether it be from a pricing standpoint or adjusting their packages, adjusting what they offer. All of that's super important. I know I did that when I watched the ATA 300. It was, all right, well, how can I now take advantage of who I've got as customers, filter out some of the customers that I don't need because I was really busy at the time, and just focus on being more profitable and not so much, I guess, trying to detail for everybody.
Yeah. So here's the quote that I'm looking at the slideshow on this other screen right here, and it says, "You guarantee." This is the one that we did in the event. I wrote, "You guarantee a successful and profitable detail by picking the right client and the right vehicle, not simply by following the best cleaning and polishing techniques." In other words, I'm trying to make the point that most people focus all their time, energy, and money and focus on how do we polish the paint the best we possibly can. Not even the interior, by the way. Most people don't want to spend time on, and we did that in the training course. What is the pH? Why does it matter? What chemicals do you use to clean this versus that kind of thing? Most of the time and energy is spent on how can I make paint very flat and concourse, right? I think that's a fair statement. Not deciding on who's the right customer and the right car to pick so that when you do that job, you have a much higher percentage of success versus just taking on everybody. And so what's interesting about detailing is it's like, I'm going to gobble up as much as I possibly can. And I can understand that in the beginning, you have to make money and you have to survive. But if I can at least impart into people, hey, being selective about what you take is going to help you in the long run. So it's like kind of like being a general manager of a baseball team or hockey team or soccer team or footy or whatever you call it, right? Some sort of team, and you're saying, hey, I want to draft this one player. In other words, I want to have this customer come in. What are they going to do for me as well? So I know you're doing something for them, but what are they going to do for me in a long-term sort of scenario? So when I'm thinking about picking a customer, is this person potentially going to leave a bad Yelp review? Are they going to be, what's their expectation? Can I even meet their expectation? So it's really about figuring out that right combination. And it's, it can be complicated. We have a filter system, but again, the overall theme is it's not, I just serve at the leisure or of the customer, right? It's not all just about the customer. It's about which one of those customers is going to help you meet your goal. And in this particular training that we did, the goal was freedom through financial independence as a detailer. In other words, how do I make cash as a detailer, keep that cash, and then I showed you profit and loss sheets and balance sheets, and then what does that profit actually turn into? It turns into cash, and what do we do with that? And all this kind of flows into this sort of way of thinking that it's not just how many details and people can I gobble into my mouth, meaning the business, and be able to swallow all that and generate profit. I'm saying, hey, instead of eating everything you possibly can, why not just pick out the really good things that give you the most energy? In other words, pick out the best clients. So I really wanted to hammer that home, and I'm thrilled that you said that was a big part of it. So I think for the most part, people were excited. I think the challenge that I had with it, that I heard from some people, is that we didn't have enough time. And I think that makes sense because there was a lot of classroom stuff, but beforehand we asked a ton of questions and said, hey, what do you want to do? And we did a lot of classroom stuff, but I think people always just want to, because it's fun to gravitate outside and to polish. So I think we did, 30 or 40% polishing and 70% classroom stuff. So I get one person came to me, Mohammed, matter of fact, he's a good dude. And he said, hey, I wish it was 3.5 days instead of 3 days. And I said, all right, well, that's an interesting, like, why not 4, why not 6 or whatever? But we needed more time, which is always a good problem, because we had to, you get what I'm saying?
You could do that, and you could talk about the things that you were talking about for a week. You could talk about it for longer because there's so much to dive into. But even then, like the detailing that we did and the physical hands-on polishing, it was trying to find the safest ways to polish or to get a car right so that you're avoiding those mistakes. So it's not about detailing to get the perfect results or detailing for perfection. It's about detailing to avoid mistakes, which is the same for business. You kind of want to filter out the people that are potentially going to cause you dramas and target those jobs that are going to be profitable and the jobs that are going to be stress-free.
Or less likely to be painful is the way that I would describe it. Because you're never going to be like, this is the perfect detail. Like it's impossible to really tell, but there are telltale signs that be like, let's say, for example, somebody comes in and they're like, remember I used that example on the phone. So I pick up my phone, and I did this in class, and I go like, bring, and I say, AMMONYC, Larry speaking. And then they say, hey, Larry, how you doing? I go, what can I do for you? Meaning I get right to the point, as opposed to saying something like, how you doing? What's going on? Like, I don't want to have a 3-hour conversation. I want to get right to the point. And they say, let's say in this part of the scenario, they go, I've been detailing for a really long time. I love it. I just don't have the time anymore to do it. But I'm really particular. And, I went to this other guy, and this other guy, he was terrible. And I heard that you're really good. And so, you know what? I'm thinking of giving you a shot. If somebody calls up and says that to me off the record, I'm going to be like, there's no way there's no way I'm taking him. And I have techniques for gracefully having him, I never want to be rude, so on and so forth. But the point I'm making is, if you understand, all the things that we talked about in the training, and one of them is how to filter out these types of customers, dealerships, wholesale accounts, these kind of things, you already put yourself in a situation where you're not going to be, like I mentioned again in the training, where like shooting a free throw from the other side from half court. Why not just shoot it from underneath the net? Like, put yourself in walk closer to the net. In other words, walk closer to a customer that's not going to drive you nuts. That guy in that scenario, that pretend scenario, that is a nightmare customer to take on. And that's usually the the red flags that they would wave with the words that they use. Or
Yep.
they call it my baby. Oh, this is my baby. I don't let anybody touch it. And you're like, oh, okay. I've wiped this thing. I've cleaned it for the last 25 years, and now I want somebody else to do it. But there's words where you're like, oh boy, this guy could be trouble. So we talked a lot about that, but I would take that one as probably my number one. When they call up and they say something like that, that's when red flag goes up.
Yep. Yep.
So my question, the other question I had for you is, when we were traveling in Australia, you mentioned that you had a previous job to stash, and I was curious. I know we talked a little bit about, I know there's some sensitivity there, so, say as much or as little as you want, but what lessons can be learned from what you were doing before? From what I understand, you were a mobile detailer, and, for better or worse, you got into this situation. So how much can you describe? And the reason to describe it is not just to tell us the horror story, but to make sure that other detailers can go like, oh, wait a second, that's happening to me, or wait, I heard that before. And if they're approached by something like this, they don't kind of get into that same situation. Is there anything that you can impart on that?
Yeah, I mean, where I started, I got into detailing. It was something that I enjoyed, something that I knew I would want to do. I just didn't know how to get started, or didn't know how to do it. I guess if ATA was, or this ATA 300 was around before that, I could have seen something like this and known how to set it up. I could have set up as a side hustle first to know whether it's what I want to do, or figure out how to get there. But I took on a franchise thing. I have no regrets looking back, because it's gotten me to where I am today, where I am with Stash, where I am with Ammo. But I got to a point where I was detailing mobile, built up a great client base, but I was working so hard, working so long, just trying to beat each week and get better, and it was profitable. It was kind of taking a toll on me. I was doing other jobs at the time, and then.
So is this your full-time job, or is this a side hustle?
No, this was full time. So I got into detailing as a franchise thing. So the business model was already there. The business structure was there. There was a client base. It was just on me to build up that client base and build up a reputation with all these new clients that I was now working for. So mobile lasted about 6 years, and then I kind of reached a ceiling. I tried to bring on other staff to help me out while I was mobile, but it almost... we'd get through work quicker, but I wouldn't say it was more profitable that way. I was kind of just paying someone else to almost have more issues. And then the shop opportunity came up. I was reluctant to open a shop because I found it hard to work with other people as well. And then opened up within Stash, took the leap. And same again, I think the struggle with having more employees, or knowing how many employees was the right number of employees to have, that was a struggle, because work would kind of fluctuate. You'd be super busy, and then you'd feel like you needed another worker, and then you'd quieten down a little bit, and then you were overstaffed. I think that was the issue that I had while I was operating a shop. And then I guess fortunate, I was kind of at a crossroads and not really knowing what I wanted to do, where I wanted to be, because we had work, but we weren't necessarily making profit, and I was kind of just taking everything on as well. And then it got to the end of this franchise agreement. I was almost just willing to start and do something else, because it was becoming a little bit too stressful. And then Stash threw me this phone, threw me an offer, and asked me to come on board with them. How that worked was that I'd now kind of just become a part of Stash and detail within Stash, and obviously still have my external client base. But now I was part of a big monster. The storage and then the detailing would supplement all of that. So it's just giving me a little bit of ease in doing what I want to do, and now being a part of Ammo. So it was a tough journey getting there. I think I racked up a lot of money in franchise fees. It got to the end, and I think it was kind of disproportionate to what I was actually making and what I was paying. So that's what the struggle was. It was trying to make enough to cover that, and then also, I guess, have enough money in the bank to pay leave for myself and then pay leave for the staff that I had. So if I had my time over again, I probably wouldn't change anything because I'm where I am today, and I'm super proud of that and grateful for that. But I would have started, because I had a full-time job as a mechanic. I would have probably done detailing on the side as a side hustle, figured out whether that's what I wanted to do, and tried to build a business from there, and made it a slow thing while I still had a job on the side to keep me busy. So the franchise, I was fortunate enough to join a business that was very well established and had a good reputation, a good client base. I think that's what got me to where I am today. If I just joined any old franchise or tagged along with some other business, I probably wouldn't have made it to where I am. With my work ethic and my detailing ability, I probably would have built a good business, but I wouldn't be where I am today. So I'm proud of that.
Would you recommend somebody who was just starting off to do a franchise?
I mean, probably not. I'd say do it on your own, get the right training.
What did they offer you that you didn't do on your own? Just the current clients?
Yeah, it was the current clients. The promise of a client base, which all came to fruition. Like, that was great. And I guess it was something that I outlaid everything. So I bought the van, I bought everything. So all of that was mine. But it was also a lock-in contract, which was the hardest thing. I hated being locked into a contract. So each time it got to the end of a contract period, I was like, how do I get out of this? I want to get out of this and do it on my own now.
Right.
But I was also kind of loyal to the business. It was the contracts that kind of got me stuck as well. I wanted to exit that and be on my own and start from scratch. So if I had a leg up initially, then I probably wouldn't have needed a franchise to do that.
Yeah, I don't think we have franchises like we probably do. There's franchises everywhere, but I can't think of one off the top of my head. I'm sure there are, actually. I could probably think of one or two in Florida, but yeah, that's not like rampant. Certainly not in Connecticut. There's not like most people are doing their own, Bobby's detailing van or whatever it is, whatever the name they have. So we're not very. I don't want to know the name of the franchise, but is that like a bigger thing in Australia? Like, are there, percentage-wise, are there more franchises versus, like, let's say like hamburger places would be like McDonald's or Macca's or whatever, right? That in terms of percentage versus like Brody's hamburger shop. You get what I'm saying? And detailing is the other way around.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a large number of franchises available in Australia. Gyms, which is a really large franchise.
Like workout gyms?
No, gyms. So JIM, kind of stereotypical Aussie name. So he's got this giant thing where he's got gyms mowing, gyms catering, gyms detailing, gyms everything.
Is it actually the same company though?
Yeah.
So he's like a master at franchising just whatever.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, I think that's his model. Not necessarily the mowing or the detailing. It's franchising is his model.
No kidding.
And it's really big here. So franchising is a big thing, but for detailing, and I think that's where it all came undone, was detailing is not exactly scalable. So it's hard there's no one around here that has multiple shops. It's one shop that grows and expands to have multiple employees or to handle lots of work, but having multiple shops is not really a thing. Having multiple vans is not really a thing. Because you've got to find the right person to be in that van or to be in that shop. So unless you're the core person that's operating that shop, it's hard to find someone else to operate another shop for you. They'll just want to go and do it themselves.
Right.
So the detailing side of things, it all kind of came undone because it's hard to scale. It's hard to find the right people to be in another van or to have another shop with you or for you. So in detailing, I don't think it's the right way to go.
And do you think in Australia there's more fixed base locations versus mobile? Because in the United States, there's definitely, I'll speak, I shouldn't say the United States. In our local area, there's definitely some mobile detailers. There's no doubt about it. But there's way more fixed base locations here. And I think primarily because of the weather. You guys aren't necessarily subject to the violent heat and cold, the ends of the spectrum. You're kind of in the middle, which is the beauty, which is another reason why Australia is awesome. Which my point is, it lends itself more to having a mobile detailing business. Do you have percentage-wise more mobile than fixed base?
I'd say it's equally. We've got an equal amount of mobile as shops. Yeah, it's definitely advantageous to have mobile because we don't have that fluctuating in weather. I mean, while I was mobile, we had droughts, we had bushfires, so we had ash everywhere. We had drought, flood, all this sort of stuff. So I experienced a lot in my time mobile. So there was time where I wasn't able to work. And I think that's where people then lean on the shop side of things. But yeah, I'd say we're not positioned one way or the other. We're taking advantage of it wherever we can and based on someone's financial position. I think opening a shop is generally someone who's got a little bit of backing behind them. And I wouldn't say a lot of people go from mobile to then operating a shop. I think they start at a shop rather than doing it the other way. So they're doing it because they have the ability to do it. They can rent a space and then they'll try and build their client base up while they have that shop, which can almost be difficult because you've got overheads to pay, you've got rent, and you don't have the client base yet. So you've got to build that up while doing it tough. Whereas mobile, you can still be doing something else and do it on the side until you get to that point where you no longer need something else and you're completely busy mobile.
Yeah, I'm a big proponent of doing mobile, certainly in the beginning, because the cost of goods sold are much lower, no rent, so on and so forth, and you're building up an asset which you can depreciate at a much faster rate than, let's say, rent or whatever. So I think if you're thinking about going into detailing, side hustle is the way to go. And if you got even more serious, then I would get a mobile truck versus just like your regular car. A lot of people start with, their Toyota Camry or whatever, their Tacoma or some sort of truck, and then they get serious and then they get into a van and or a trailer. And then when they get super serious, they tend to jump to a fixed base location. That's usually the progression in the United States. I'm a big proponent of people keeping the side hustle, keeping your main job, and then figuring it out on the weekends. Because what happens is there's this allure to detailing because of the whole passion. And I feel like my purpose in this detailing industry is not to squash the passion. But I was saying, like in the training course in Denver, passion isn't going to pay the bills, right? You actually have to run a business. So if you want to be profitable, it's the prerequisite is you have to understand business. And so the way to slowly understand business and to sort of force that process through, in my mind, is in the beginning, if you have a job and then you side hustle, it'll start to force you to see the light, whether you're like, oh, wait a second, I didn't realize, I'm making this up, that I'm going to be outside in the winter time and I don't like being in the cold. I don't want to do this. Okay. Or I didn't realize that I'm going to have to pay taxes on this money and start an LLC and have to deal with CPAs and bookkeepers. I don't want to do that. Or so on and so forth. There's like 50 of those things. And the damage that is occurred by doing a side hustle is not that big of a deal. It's easily reversible. Yes, maybe you don't want to spend that much money, 10 grand or whatever it is, 5 grand on tools and things to detail, but you can sell them. You can reverse that. If you rent a place for a year and they're like, let's figure it out because I'm passionate about it, that's where I see a lot of failure in the detailing industry. Either people make it for a long time or they fail very quickly. And I started studying why that was happening. And the passion trap is what is grabbing them and kind of making people go one way or the other in terms of failure or not. And I found that very fascinating. And that's what makes detailing so cool, because we get to work on like the cars that you have behind you right there. Super cool. Great. Wonderful. Everybody, I don't know a detailer who doesn't love cars. And so we get a little bit blinded by that. And so to your point, yeah, I think mobile is the way to go.
And there's a lot of glamour to having a shop. And I think that's the appeal for most people. It's the ability to have someone drop a car off to you, like something really nice. But you get all that glamour mobile as well. You're traveling to people's places, and they've got cars tucked away that you never knew existed. So, yeah, I think for me, the one thing I was glad about having a shop was, I guess, the heat. Like, I was working through heat waves, and that was difficult, because I didn't want to stop working when it was really hot, but there was times where I probably should have stopped because I was melting away in cars, and it was becoming hard. So there's pros and cons to each, but I think definitely mobile is the way to go in most cases.
Sure.
If you're not planning to build this empire, then just do it yourself and build a great client base. I think the nicest thing as well is the trust. You're going to people's places, who these people can be quite private, and you're the one entrusted to go to their place, go into their garage, spend time around their family. I think that's a nice aspect to mobile as well, and that's the thing that I missed the most, and the thing that I enjoyed the most was having that relationship with a person. Whereas at a shop, they drop you the keys, leave you with the car. There's trust there, but at my facility, they know they can already trust the place, so it's not like they don't have to trust me. They're trusting where the car is. So,
right. What people don't realize, or they would never know, is that you stayed an extra day because we went out to one of my crazy clients, Matt Farrow. We've talked about it a ton. I don't ever mention who the client is, but you went with me on that full day where it was like 4.5 hours out and 4.5 hours down, where the joke was we could take a plane or whatever because it's all the way out in Long Island. But the point that you raised is, when I get to a certain level or the certain clientele, you're not really selling the detail anymore, if that makes sense. You're selling the trust. And it sounds cliche, but it's sort of true, because we didn't necessarily go to this place that I'm alluding to here and polished 50 cars or whatever. I've already polished them 13, 14 years ago whenever I started, and they're still in the same collection. So I maintain them. Yes, when we get a new one, yes, I have to polish and coat and blah, 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 blah. But for the most part, I'm making sure everything is the tires are filled, the gas is ready, everything is wiped down. It is ready to go at a moment's notice when that customer wants to drive it. And I'm doing all of it in his house, like his personal garage. So there's a method, to the madness when we were talking about the training before, in terms of the filtering and the whatever. Because a lot of the people that I've, like the younger folks, they say like, hey, how can I filter anybody out when I'm just trying to survive? And I get it. And you got to sleep on your couch and you got to take every job that you can. I'm just trying to kick you in the brain and say, like, if you start that process of filtering now, you can eventually get to that stage, that level, that point, however you want to describe it, where it becomes less about the physical detailing and more about selling the trust for their fleet of cars, their collection, however you want to describe it. And so there is a way to do that. And the way to do that, I explained in the training, was through this filtering system, as well as brand positioning and so on and so forth. But when I think you get there, it was fun to have you with me to be like, because you've seen all of it now. You've seen, you've gone from the beginning to the training, and then you got to hop in with me and go to this client. So you could see from, oh yeah, it totally makes sense. So I had a blast when you came out, just to see you sort of verify through your eyes that the process I'm talking about is actually real and it does work.
And it's funny with that as well. You get to this, so you're detailing because you want to be the best detailer in the world. But then when you get to that point in your life, you're detailing for this person, for the trust space. You almost, the quality doesn't matter. Obviously, you're still doing the best job that you can, and you're doing whatever you can to impress that person. But you've gotten to a point where now they're not so concerned with quality, and they're willing to pay as much as they're willing to pay to have you there because they trust you. They don't want to start that process again.
You're not taking photographs. You're not, goofing around. You're not, you're there to do a thing. And, I'm not trying to have a conversation for 2 hours with the guy. It's very, I guess the word is amorphous. You can't really hold it in your hand. It's hard for me to describe it. And you remember in the training, I was like, I don't know how to describe it to you. It's difficult. And even we talked about how to communicate with them. Let me give you another example. When you're talking to those super high-end guys, you don't just like have a random conversation. There's a thought process beforehand, and I have to leave the conversation before they leave the conversation. Remember we talked about that, where it's just like you don't want to just keep going on and on and on. You want to be very busy, move on, do whatever you're doing to, clean the car and so on, and then like kind of exit the situation before that person says, all right, well, we'll see you later. It keeps them psychologically wanting more, and when they're very powerful people, they usually have others doting on them. And so psychologically, and I'm not saying to be rude by any means, of course, but if you leave because you're so busy and you have other things to do, there's this psychological draw that this person wants you to stay around. So I encourage, hopefully if we do another training, we go into these really kind of deep, nuanced psychological things that kind of keep customers happy, wanting you to come back. But the moral story is, again, freedom through financial independence as a detailer. It is in fact possible if you follow certain things. And I'm encouraging people not to take every single customer, not to take every dealership, not to take every wholesale account. The goal is not to be busy. The goal is to be profitable. And there's breadcrumbs left behind of the folks that I've interviewed on how to be profitable. So I think, listen, I was super stoked to have you come over. In fact, you stayed at my house, which was cool. The family loved that, so that was awesome. You got to go to a couple of different clients. We shot some videos, but yeah, I appreciate you coming over. I think the training worked out well. Hopefully, Scott and the boys are going to see some of the fruits of that, hours and hours of training there. But on the last little note here, how are you doing at Stash right now in terms of detailing? Is it just because of the slow season? Is it slower, or is it just even all the time with you?
Yeah, I think it's we have those fluctuations, and I've experienced that my entire time through detailing. You get really busy periods where you're not knowing when your next break is going to be, and then you kind of get quiet periods. So there was a good period where it was a little bit quiet. I had work on, like there was always something to do, but it wasn't as busy. I like to be stressed out, having too much work and knowing, oh, when am I going to be able to get this done? That's the stress I like to feel, rather than the stress of not having anything on. But coming back here, I've been inundated with work. I had things that I was already planning to do when I got back. But I finished off an Aston Martin DB6 this week, Spider RS, Ferrari F430. I'm looking at a Dino at the moment. Like there's plenty for me to be doing now. So we get those fluctuations. But you've kind of got to take the good with the bad. And when it is a little bit quiet, use that time to clean up, or to, I guess, look at business and go, okay, how can I do things better, or what can I do to make myself busier in the future, or check out, filter your client base as well. Make sure you're doing the right thing.
In the last few minutes here, the ultimate question that everybody's dying to hear, your cars. What cars do you have? Because I know that you have some, you're very passionate about a couple of them. What kind of cars do you have?
Yeah. So I'm a JDM, or Japanese kind of enthusiast. So I've got a Nissan Stagia 260 RS. So it's a Nissan wagon, or a Nissan Skyline wagon with GTR running gear. So the 2.6 litre twin turbo, 4-wheel drive. That's my baby. That's my weekend car. And then I've got a R33 GTR 4-door, which is also pretty cool. There's only 419 of them built, so it's a very rare. And they're kind of a pair, so that's why I love them. And then the car that you guys joke about all the time, the Auto Mitsubishi Evo wagon, which is a tremendous daily. Like, I love that thing. It's far from perfect, so it means I can do what I want to do. I do my mobile work in that as well. Yeah, I love my Japanese.
I'm laughing because the boys, when we were there, we would just give Brody so much crap, because all day long, that's all we heard about these cars when we were driving. And Scott and the boys there, Leighton, for sure, we just we just beat him up all day long because he was so excited about these cars. What do you got behind you?
And this is the new Stash toy. So the M2CS, which we've had out at the track. Leighton was actually the superstar in that car. So it's a bundle of fun. So hopefully that kind of fills the void for me as well. I don't have to buy any more cars or find something else that's better than the cars that I have.
So it's a little faster than Leighton's Posty, is what you're saying?
Yeah, a little bit faster.
Yeah, if you guys watch the video, Leighton is the one that had the Posty, which is the motorcycle that I detailed while I was out there. Leighton is the man. I miss my Leighton.
Yeah, he's cool. He's kind of the
jack of all trades. Yeah. Oh, jack of all trades. Yeah, he gets everything done. Well, I know it's super crazy early. It's like 6 o'clock in the morning or whatever it is there. So I appreciate you hopping on. I just wanted to touch base and express our gratitude that you came over. And I know it was a hustle. You were in Los Angeles, Denver, New York City, Connecticut, detailing, training. You're a trooper. So hopefully get some rest. We'll be talking more. Obviously, the Stash Boys, and in particular, Brody, are constantly posting on our Instagram as well to show what they're doing, because we are, as you can see behind there, Ammo affiliate there. And so I'm super proud. I do appreciate it. Thanks for hopping on. If you have anything else, any other plugs, let me know. Go ahead, shoot your plugs. We're going to test you right now. Do you have any plugs that you'd like any plugs you'd like to say?
Yeah, I mean, for me, like I can't believe I'm here. Words can't explain. I learned those 7 years ago when I started detailing. It was the master guide that I printed out. I had laminated, and that was what I followed. It was your videos that were an inspiration to me and got me to where I am today. And so, super privileged and proud that I'm here. It's I guess kind of you meet your sports stars or these athletes, and for me, in a career of detailing, it was insane that we were going into business with Ammo. Ammo is just the brand itself; it aligns so well, and I wouldn't have wanted to align myself with anything else. It's that premium brand. I love using the product when I'm here. It kind of just it changes the environment as well, the smells and the feels and the characteristics of everything. But super pumped and proud of where I am and where this has all taken me. So I had a blast over in America. I can't wait to get back there to see a bit more of America, but also do a bit more of that car stuff. So it's good to be back. I can't wait to get back over there.
Well, we miss you very much, but I just wanted to say thank you again, and plug AMMONYC.au. That's what we need to. So the plug, of course, means all kidding aside, we can ship directly from Australia. The big issue that we had, the people listening to this are obviously fans of Ammo, and most of them probably even know me directly, but we just couldn't get stuff over to Australia when we had a crazy demand. Because it costs a fortune, and people would be like, I'm making this up, $250 to ship $100 worth of product. And I was like, I don't have any control over this. I'm not UPS or FedEx or DHL or whatever. And so I said, I'm telling you, don't buy it. That's insane amount of shipping. And some people still would do it. And so I said, all right, at some point I need to figure this out and get containers over there of our product. So it worked out fantastic. And you're, the perfect representation or representative in Australia. So, appreciate you looking. Everybody said, "Oh, you guys have to be brothers here." So that wasn't a choice. That just happened to be a lucky coincidence here. I didn't walk around and be like, "I want that guy." It just worked out perfect. So, thanks.
We're tricking everyone over here.
Yes.
But yeah, we're taking orders from all over the country. We're getting orders in Tasmania, which
New Zealand now. You guys, I just talked to Scott. You have New Zealand now as well.
Yeah, so there's people wanting our products from all over the place here. But a lot of those people are also people that were buying Ammo products from America and now are just blown away by how much cheaper they can get the product and how readily available it is. So, I think it was groundbreaking here in Australia to be able to get Ammo here, and we've got people that just come in. I think they just come in to see the place as well, which is really special.
Yeah, your place is crazy.
Yeah, but we're doing well with that. Ammo AU. So
guys, I'm giving him crap right now just because I'm trying to make sure that he promotes it when he's on other things. AMMONYC.au. You're the what do they call it? the Aussie Larry, or whatever you guys call it.
Yeah. the spokesperson for Australia.
Yeah.
So
I appreciate
I'm
it.
doing my best.
You're doing absolutely fantastic. I appreciate you spending some time. I know it's super early. Yeah, we're at 55 minutes. Thank you. Tell the boys I said hello, and specifically to Leighton. Leighton, a big old kiss for me. I love that guy. Again, thanks, and we'll talk soon, bud.
Thanks, Larry. Good to speak to you.
All right, talk to you in a bit.
Bye.
Bye.